Dying Light 2 has 3 core elements to the gameplay: the parkour, the combat, and the parkour combat. To make these mechanics feel good for the player, there's some work that Techland has to do. In this video, I will be showcasing the elements of the gameplay that I believe they have to work on. Starting off with the melee combat, my main complaint is there are no unique traits to the weapons. Obviously, they have their technical differences, but the damage done to the infected is universally the same. To prove this, I used a new weapon recently added into the game called the Skull. This weapon helped me a lot with showcasing this because it just comes back to you all the time. This makes it very easy to show that the enemies react the exact same way when getting hit by a thrown melee weapon. I can cut them a little bit of slack because melee throwing wasn't in the game at launch, and there's something to be said about that, but that's not the point of this video. What I'm trying to say is I would like to see the physics touched up to allow for a more diverse reaction system to simply make this attack more satisfying. Here we can see that the Dying Light 1 gameplay when throwing the weapon is much different compared to the second. The reactions are much more natural and realistic. This weird reaction doesn't just apply to throwing the melee weapons though. During the regular melee combat, for some strange reason, the automatic reaction for the ragdoll is to plop the enemy downward or in a circular motion. You might think that this makes sense because that's where their weight had been allocated since they were moving forward, right? Well, I'd say that makes sense to an extent, but there are plenty of other instances where this is not the case, yet they still plop forward or around in a circle, just like when you throw a weapon at them. The only time this doesn't happen is if you get lucky or there's an animation that plays out where they don't spin around. This is a problem in combat because once you've used the melee weapons for a little while, you've seen everything you're ever going to see. The lack of variation in the feel of the combat is why so many people prefer the original game. Obviously the physics were superior, so that created a satisfying feel during the gameplay that was not replicated in Dying Light 2. The next segment of this video will be covering the parkour combat. To start this one off, I think it's fair to say that the parkour combat is easily one of the better aspects of the game. It has the most amount of moves and a greater potential for satisfying moments. This, alongside the fact that the parkour combat blends in with the regular parkour so beautifully that it feels amazing to play. Of course, this doesn't mean there aren't areas that could be improved. A lot of the parkour moves are animation based because they have to be, no complaints there. The existing animations are completely fine. The first move that is problematic is the head stomp. Take a look at how broken the camera is when you use either animation, whether it's when you jump or when you kick. Your head completely breaks and it looks terrible. For those of you that are having a similar problem, there is a quick fix for this. All you have to do is turn the setting head bob reduction to 100 and there will be less camera issues. However, the gameplay is much more flat without any of the camera impact. Not only that, it makes the poor physics that much more apparent without any camera movement. I mean, the first person view of this animation is bad enough, but the third person and co-op, it is just as bad if not worse. Another parkour combat move that has a similar issue is the wall running kick. Some of you might not even know about this move. Basically, if you run along a wall, hold your attack button, and face towards an enemy simultaneously, it will sometimes initiate this cool little kick. The consistency of this move is not great. I suggest to Techland to try and make this move more viable and to connect better with the enemies. If the wall running kick doesn't work, you will instead do the same two-legged kick that happens when you use your attack button off of your paraglider. I think that this move just looks really bad and it doesn't make any sense. I think that this should be completely redesigned to have more impact and so Aiden isn't just floating in the air with no gravity pulling him downward. Now onto the grapple. The grapple move is arguably one of the most entertaining because it makes the zombies fly away. You get the full effect of the physics in the game and you get to create some funny moments. I will say that this move is almost perfect, but the domino effect added in the gut feeling update could be made to be so much better. Like the melee ragdoll I mentioned earlier in this video, this animation, or the physics in this move, is also very static. It almost looks like they're being pulled away by their arms the same way every time. The same thing happens with the regular kick animation as well. Here is a comparison between Dead Island 2's kick and Dying Light 2's kick. You can see in Dead Island 2, they actually react to where you kick them in the leg. They start to trip and they lose their balance. However, in Dying Light 2, they do the complete opposite. Firstly, they react the same way every time, them. Secondly, they don't even lose their balance. There's this one animation where they fly backwards and it looks like a cartoon. I'm almost certain that everyone would want to see some improvements made to the kicking physics. The static nature of the current physics system removes the fun factor, as the physics that we see are guaranteed to the point where they're no better than a regular animation. That pretty much covers the things that I wanted to cover in greater detail, but I still have a list of things that need to be addressed. For example, we need better collision detection. There's a jerky animation that plays out during combat when an enemy bangs into a wall. Whether you kick him or bash him in, he will bounce back so fast that it just seems like he teleports across the screen. Next up, I want to see better AI prioritization with both the zombies and humans. This is a problem because both the infected and the humans choose to look at the player rather than better targets that are directly in front of them, sometimes even touching them. It just makes no sense. Someone can be overrun by like 5 different infected and they just throw a rock at Aiden. The bash move is not smooth at all, and it takes away all of your momentum. Rather than plunging through the enemies, you stop right in your tracks. This is a far cry from the original game. When you would plunge through someone, you'd see the physics in action and you'd actually keep your momentum. Overall, it was smoother and just looked better. The crowd runner move is similar to the bash, but it doesn't do as much damage. Honestly, I don't think I could tell you the point of this move because to me, it's pointless. It has the same problem as the bash because it takes away your momentum and it's just, there's no reason for you to use it. The infected attacking you all at once. When you would approach a group of infected in the first game, certain ones would react at different times. This is because the infected are not that smart. So it makes sense that they don't all hit you the exact same way at the exact same time. But they didn't think about that for the sequel. The block charge move is also very awkward to use. It's kind of cool, but the animations in it are questionable. Biter grabs. Do I even need to elaborate on this one? The paraglider kick. It defies all physics and it just simply looks like a mistake. Viral leaps are still a nuisance. They hit you even though you do a perfect dodge, and this is made apparent by them completely turning midair. This was a cool concept when they first showed it off in one of the earlier trailers, but in practice, it ruins the gameplay experience. That's gonna do it for my list of changes I want to see done to the gameplay in Dying Light 2. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If there were any topics in the video that you would like to add on to, please feel free to do so in the comments. Thank you for watching. I will see you all in the next video.